And I heard, as it were, the voice of thunder, and one of the four beasts saying, "Come and see." And I saw, and behold, a white horse. There's a man going round taking names, and he decides who to free and who to blame. Everybody won't be treated all the same. There'll be a golden ladder reaching down when the man comes around. The hairs on your arm will stand up at the terror in each sip and each sup. Will you partake of that last offered cup, or disappear into the potter's ground when the man comes around? Hear the trumpets, hear the pipers, 100 million angels singing. Multitudes are marching to the big kettle drum. Voices calling, voices crying. Some are born and some are dying. It's Alpha and Omega's kingdom come. And the whirlwind is in the thorn tree. The virgins are all trimming their wicks. The whirlwind is in the thorn tree. It's hard for thee to kick against the pricks. Till Armageddon, no shalom, no shalom. Then the father hen will call his chickens home. The wise man will bow down before the throne, and at his feet they'll cast their golden crowns when the man comes around. And I heard a voice amidst the four beasts, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. Hell followed with him. Good morning, Bitcoin. Welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show. Today is Saturday, July 14th, 2018. My name is Thomas Hunt, and here's what's happening today in Bitcoin. Somebody shined this spotlight on the National Bank of Slovakia last night, but that's not what we came to hear to talk about today. The price of Bitcoin is up 0.61% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 6,262, a high of 6,331, and a low of 6,144. That's $1 for 15,978 Satoshis. Check out the World Crypto Network podcast on iTunes with Adam Meister, JW Weatherman, Andy Hoffman, and much, much more on the World Crypto Network podcast. Thanks for your support of the World Crypto Network on Patreon, where 29 patrons are donating $234 a month. And your support on the Mad Bitcoins Patreon, where 83 patrons are donating $515 a month. With World Crypto Network, thanks you for your support, also for your Bitcoin and altcoin donations, which make this show possible. And now on to the Twitter drama. Kevin Pham said, "Crypto Twitter is finding out that VCs are not that smart. How is this controversial?" And it all happened with the look at Meltem Naval. I don't know what the Melem part means. Maybe it's a reference to Meltem Demore, who works for DCG. I don't know. I don't know if they're saying look at melting Naval or something. I'm not sure. But basically, this campaign started making fun of Naval. And Naval is known for his sage-like tweets, where he says something really zen and interesting about Bitcoin. And these tweets were intended to make fun of that. And it was actually pretty funny. As it says here, the real block reward is the journey to find the nonce. Ricardo Spagni said, "Blockchain is not the cornerstone of Bitcoin, it is the edge." John Carvalho, "Have no regrets in life, and you will have no life." So, kind of funny, I think. But of course, it all went too wrong. As Whale Panda said, "People are now accusing us of bullying and being toxic for having fun with a hashtag and claiming that we're organizing a mob against Naval. I think that everyone should be made fun of, and if you can't handle it, it says more about you than about the jokes." And Naval has since started blocking everyone that's making fun of him. which again, muting would probably be better. You can mute them all you want, and they never know. They never get to take a picture of this saying muted by Naval. But I guess it feels better to block. As Fluffy Pony said, all of my tweets were merely meant to make fun of Naval's platitude. I'd hoped he had enough self awareness to enjoy them, but it appears not. And he was probably also blocked by Naval. Then we have Balaji Servinian, the former CEO of 21.co, later Earn.com, now owned by Coinbase, said that he tried reasoning with him, but we need to go our separate ways. And he even told him that he was blocked, which again, you don't have to do that. You can just mute them and they don't know. Telling them that they're blocked is just a way of adding more drama to this. So it was pretty interesting. Then Samson had an interesting Zen-like quote. He said, "If Naval and I never followed each other, but now we have blocked each other, are we more connected than before?" That's like a meta in joke about the jokes. That's a good one. And Fluffy Pony also pointed out, look at Kraken bullying Coinbase. And we had a great tweet today by Kraken Exchange directly, not just my friend Jesse Powell, but the actual exchange. And they said, exciting and important revelation for the community today. Kraken has been contemplating the exploration of maybe adding over 1,600 new coins, pending the outcome of our highly sophisticated review process. For a glimpse of the possibilities, check out CoinMarketCap. Very funny joke from Kraken. Making fun of Coinbase is this pathetic and obvious market pumping announcement. Today, we're announcing that we're exploring the addition of the following assets to Coinbase: Cardano, Basic Attention Token, Stellar Lumen, Zcash, and OX. And of course, after they announced this, every single one of these coins pumped. So is Coinbase just pumping coins on Twitter now? Is that what we've come to? Your imitation of Cryptsy has become complete. Soon they will sell V shares and exit scam to China, if history is any judge. Actually, it looks like they might IPO on the mainstream stock market and continue dumping these garbage on people, as no one will ever be able to complain or say the lighter. The garbage went up in value. It's fine, right? It's good garbage now. We've also having some drama from Andy Hoffman. I'm not sure who you guys think I am, but I am not the world's policeman on Twitter. People are very excited to say, Thomas, you need to do something. It's terrible what he's doing on Twitter. I am not the world's policeman. I do not control Andy Hoffman. I look at his shows here on the World Crypto Network. They seem fine to me. I listened to one recently. He even said that the people that he's critical of on Twitter are still very smart. He just disagrees with them. I don't have a problem with him disagreeing with people on Twitter. If you come to me with some kind of personal complaint that he's wronged you, please include screenshots. Please don't delete the tweets, send me a link to the deleted tweets, and then get upset that I don't do anything. I have no idea what you're talking about. Also, don't expect me to respond within 30 minutes to your individual Twitter complaint. I am not the Twitter complaint department. I'm not available for you 24/7 to solve your Twitter problems. If you have a Twitter problem with someone, block them, mute them, unfollow them. Don't come at me, right? And as far as this B Rhodium thing, all I've heard Andy say is that he's getting it for free and he's interested in the technology. I'm not at the point where I'm going to be smacking down people who are honestly interested in the technology. On the other hand, if you can show me that Andy Hoffman was paid by B Rhodium and that he's secretly or publicly or privately, whatever, receiving money and that this is a paid shill, that's a different thing. I believe that he honestly believes in the technology of B Rhodium. I'm not going to shit on him for that. This is not Tone Vase here. We're not just saying because it's new, it's a scam. It's new. It's being given away for free. If you want it, you can keep it. If you have your Bitcoin, if you own them on a private key, have all those things. If you want to claim the airdrop, if you're not interested in it, just unfollow Andy Hoffman, mute him and block him. I don't care. Stop coming to me trying to get me in the middle of your Twitter fights. Right? I'm not in the middle of your Twitter fights. If you're having a Twitter fight, have a great Twitter fight. I'll be here making videos. If you want to contribute to the World Crypto Network, you can make a video, right? If you make 5 of your own weekly videos and submit them to me, show that you're dedicated to this. If you want to be a regular caller here on Bitcoin Talk Show, we can even migrate you from a regular caller to a co-host. Eventually, we'd like to turn all the co-hosts into hosts, and we'd like to make more shows. I am focused on making more shows. If you want to communicate to me about making more shows, I am available. If you want to say something negative and cut down the people I'm trying to work with, people who work with me for free, by the way, if you want to cut down my free volunteers, if you want to cut off my arms and my legs and make it so I can't do any shows and I don't have any help and that I have nothing at all and it's just me here alone, keep your negative messages coming. I'm muting and blocking you too. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm not the Twitter policeman. I'm not the absolute source of all drama. And you libertarians, where the hell are you? The libertarians telling me what to do, telling me to kick people off, telling me to silence people. What kind of libertarians are you? So I don't know what the heck you guys want. And remember, for every one message I get 10 messages going the other way. If I listened to every single individual message I got, I never would have made any shows. Believe me, they hated everything about these shows. They hate the voice. They hate the comments. They hate the tone. They hate the cadence, whatever it is. They hate the way you think. They hate the way you talk. You're too liberal. You're not liberal enough. You're a statist. You're not statist enough. You're a libertarian. You're not libertarian enough. Believe me, negative comments are what I get. So yes, you're very upset. You had a bad Twitter conversation with someone. Mute them, block them. Don't come to me. Not the world's policeman. Exhausting. Let's see. Times I was going to sell you the inside baseball here, World Crypto Network. Times that I've censored the network. We had these people that were being critical of everyone, but not making shows, and they weren't making shows. And I said, you should make shows. Then they went off and made shows on their own channel. So I said, that's fine. And we moved on. I had these other people who wanted more money and they wanted to turn everything into money, and they didn't understand the open source nature of the World Crypto Network and that this is mainly a volunteer effort right now. It would be great to pay people, but we just don't have it. They went off on their own to make more money. I never said anything about that. I said, that's fine. You guys can go make more money. That's what's important to you. The other time that we censored the network, they had a naked girl on here. I said, we've gone a long time without having to resort to that level. I don't think that it was a valuable interview. I think that she fooled you and got to be on the air for a long time promoting her own thing, being almost naked. And I said, no, we don't want that. That's it. So that's 5 years of minor disagreements and not censoring people. One other time, we had some guys who were doing shows, and we were not helping them get more views. They weren't getting 1,000 views a show on our channel, and we tried promoting them. We tried tweeting about them and all this stuff. We just couldn't get people to watch those shows, so we had to let those shows go and be on their own. But still, we never said anything negative about these shows. We never went around shitting on them. We just let people go, let people do their own thing. It's open source here. So I guess I'll look at the chat later, see how upset everyone is with me, see that they can't take any jokes or any humor and that they can't think for themselves. But we'll look at that later. A U.S. election probe implicated Bitcoin, and the reaction was swift. Pretty exciting news that the 12 Russian military operatives who hacked the United States government and our election yesterday had been using Bitcoin. As Representative Emmanuel Cleaver says, I've been warning about the potential dangers of Bitcoin being used by nefarious actors. Now we know Russia used cryptocurrency to fund their meddling campaign in 2016. The crypto industry needs to step their game up. No, that's the funny part about this. This is actually an example of Bitcoin once again being good money. Like Andreas said all those years ago, if your money can't buy hookers and drugs, what good is it? Really? And we're not saying that buying elections and ruining elections and buying hookers and drugs are necessarily the best investments or the best use of anyone's money. But if your money can't buy you what you want, what good is it? So it turns out that our money, good old Bitcoin, bought these Russian actors the tools they needed to hack the American democracy. And sure, you guys are saying all your talking points that you've heard on Fox News. America does worse things to other people. America hacked all these elections. But what you don't understand is that doesn't make it okay. If it's okay to hack the American elections, it's okay to hack all the other elections. And you don't want a world like that where democracy is broken down and we return to dictatorships and kings. Democracy is the best system we have given the alternatives, as Winston Churchill said. You've really got to keep an eye on this story. I know you guys don't believe in it, but the evidence just keeps piling up. So yes, the 12 Russian GRU officials, not just some guy in New Jersey, no fat guys, used Bitcoin to pay for servers, etc., targeted the DCCC, the DNC, and Hillary Rodham Clinton. Of course, the libertarians were quick to respond, bashing the politician. As Bashko said, corrupt politician expresses concern over hackers who expose vast political corruption in his own party. They rigged their own primary election, and somehow it's Bitcoin's fault. Mr. Cleaver and his associates are a bunch of corrupt idiots, but this is, of course, a red herring. We're not talking about the rigged primary election, although that is true that it seems like Hillary Clinton rigged it to beat Bernie Sanders. That's a separate issue. What we're talking about is the 12 Russian agents who hacked the United States democracy. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. Hacking the United States democracy is not acceptable. Also, I don't think it's acceptable for the United States to hack Latin American democracies, etc., etc. Do I deny that we did it? Certainly not. Do I think that it is acceptable? No. I think the people should be arrested and punished. That's where you start that. You don't start that saying, it's okay. Everyone hacks everyone's elections. It doesn't matter. Democracy is a big fraud. We'd be better off with a dictatorship. That's not a good idea, guys. It's not a good idea. But it's okay. We'll wait and see. We won't be able to talk about it after the dictatorship, but a little voice in your head will say, Mad Bitcoins talked about this. Gosh, he was really right. Things were better off under that fake democracy than they are under this real dictatorship. But once again, the Russian spy story is everywhere. Bitcoin is back in the news again with negative news. How Russian spies hid behind Bitcoin in hacking campaign, and of course, Russian agents allegedly used Bitcoin to fund the DNC hack. So this is not going to stop. This is going to keep happening. Bitcoin is great money for hackers. It's going to continue to be used by hackers, Russian government, or otherwise. Bitcoin bears pushing on Bitcoin USD stuck at 6,200. Will it break above? The Bitcoin price is stuck at 6,200 while still being in the red. Bitcoin is under the weight of the bears as it struggles to make a recovery, though the short-term scenario is riddled with a downward trend. Meanwhile, New York authorities have come up with a new rate. I don't know what that means. New York authorities have come up with a new rate while Russians are accused of this is garbage language, are accused in the indictment of the 2016 presidential elections by using Bitcoin. Let's see. Bitcoin did register green and went up to 6,280, but the upward shift did not last long as it fell to 6,200. The small gains seen in the market can take Bitcoin back to 6,400, but the bulls are giving an indication of a hit below 6,000. Last month, Bitcoin did go down to 5,880 before bouncing back. At this time, the probability of the same is pretty high. The downward trend may take us down towards 5,900. However, a strong support at the 6,100 level faces further resistance at 6,300. Overall, Bitcoin remains bearish. Though it can see an extension to 6,400, it likely won't be able to make further gains. A decline is likely to the 5,800 mark, according to the chart reading experts. The 5 finance experts are still excited about cryptocurrency. Here's why. Because it's awesome, because it's new money. Tom Lee believes Bitcoin is a great store of value. Brian Kelly says he likes Bitcoin and Ethereum and doesn't mention Nautilus Coin anymore, hardly at all. Ron Neuner, the founder of On-Chain Capital, warned that Bitcoin is in the early stages of its existence. We haven't even gotten to the start line of cryptocurrencies. However, in June, he compared Bitcoin to digital gold. But the bears are unconvinced. Old people from the old economy who don't know anything about technology called Bitcoin worthless artificial gold. Just give it time. Just give it time. They're not thinking 10, 20 years out, probably because they don't care. Proof of work X seeks to change Bitcoin with optical proof of work. Got some questions about this. Not sure that it's about the technology. Everything around this is going to be filled with conspiracy theory and potential takeover from the miners. Everything has to be seen through multiple layers of, do they really mean this? Is this what they really mean? All of this is a big problem. So, proof of work X, optical technology could make mining more decentralized and make mining healthy enough and scalable enough. Not so sure about that. They're pointing their fingers at Bitmain, saying that mining is becoming more centralized, and a couple of Bitcoin core and not developer Luke Dash Jr. says he's all for optical proof of work and believes mining could damage Bitcoin. He says Bitmain has compromised Bitcoin security, so changing to a new proof of work of algorithm is necessary to secure the network again. However, the problem I see with that is that Bitmain is near the end of the line for their S9 chips. It is very possible that they could just segue into making these proof of work X chips and still profit a great deal and actually not even lose a step. So we do have to keep in track of where the miners are in their productions, if this would really hurt them, or if it would put a well-financed Bitmain in a perfect position to monopolize the market on these proof of work X chips. So I think we have to think three-dimensional chess here. We have to think on a multiple levels, and I'm not sure that the developers who are supporting this are seeing that. Uh, you might want to try this on an altcoin first, something like that. Opinion. Here's why Bitcoin's price will soar. Let's see what this guy says. Very personal opinion article. Price has been moving sideways. What plays a role in massive price changes? Okay. Shouldn't be taken as financial investments. Trading analysis plays a role because the future behavior of an asset will be similar to its past behavior. So we generate a bunch of random versions of the future, random samples of the past. This is the Monte Carlo price simulator for Bitcoin. As you can see, it's very predictive, much like the weather report. There are 200 random ways that Bitcoin could go. Most of them look kind of diagonally up and to the right. They say the Bitcoin price will rise at least to 10K. He's got a distribution of the simulated chart graph, high yield savings account, and then the article kind of ends. So, oh well, so much for his opinion. At least he's got a couple of charts and graphs to help back it up. Good job, Yahoo guy. Square sees stock price explode as its Bitcoin service expands. Well, no surprise here. Square, the owner of Cash App, pretty much the easiest way to buy Bitcoin and the only way to buy Bitcoin without being harassed by a bunch of altcoins and random nonsense, is having a great time. Square is decoupling from Bitcoin's performance. Their stock price is exploding. Their CEO, Jack Dorsey, is doing the impossible. He's running Square and Twitter at the same time, and he seems to be doing great with both. Secret sauce there, Bitcoin integration. Add Bitcoin into Twitter, add Bitcoin into the Square app so you can buy and sell things with it permanently everywhere. Soon you won't even need those little readers on the top of your phone or tablet. You'll just be able to take Bitcoin directly. Great job by Square. Great job by Jack Dorsey. Bitcoin bat signal appears on Slovakia's central bank. Another great mission by the guys from Paralinzi Polis, a Czech cryptocurrency group that runs the hacker conference there in Prague. I hope to attend this year. They have another outlet in Bratislava. The Bratislava outlet was responsible for shining this spotlight on the National Bank of Slovenia. And this is what Bitcoin is really about. Look at that. The Bitcoin symbol on the symbol of old, the national bank cloaked in the future. This is like you put the MP3 on the side of Tower Records. Show them what's coming. Show them a piece of the future. But now let's go ahead and check in with you guys in the chat. Actually, I would prefer if you call in. Like I said before, like we are looking for people to talk here. This is Bitcoin Talk Show. This is the World Crypto Network. You've been silent for a long time. Everyone's telling me, "Oh, I've listened to you for years, but this is the first time I've picked up the phone and called you." Well, it's never too late to start. You can pick up Skype right now. You can install Skype for free, and you can add us and call us here on the World Crypto Network, live on Skype. It's around 9:30. I'll try to keep the show open till 10 o'clock if we can get some phone calls. This is a Saturday morning, big weekend, hanging out here. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name's Corey, and I'm calling from Denver, Colorado.
Hey, Corey. How's it going?
Oh, it's going good. Well, my friend, I just wanted to call in real quick and let you know that today I'm packing up my entire apartment, and I should be arriving at your front door tomorrow evening.
Very cool. Everybody's moving to Vegas now, huh?
Yes, yes, yes. Vegas is the way to go. But I just wanted to call in real quick, say hello to the listeners, and let everybody know that the best days of the World Crypto Network are ahead of us.
That's what I think. We've got a great thing going here in Vegas. We had a pretty exciting Bitcoin meetup the other night. As everybody knows, we've been doing those every week. We've just been kind of plugging along. We don't have a lot of guys yet, but we just keep meeting at different restaurants. And I think the guys we do have are having a good time going to different restaurants. We're really checking out the town. But last week at this most recent one, two guys were actually interested and excited about my plan to hand out flyers down on Fremont Street near the Bitcoin ATMs. This is exactly what we're looking for because it's easy for me to say I'm excited to hand out flyers, but I hand out flyers and talk about Bitcoin all the time, right? For years and years and years. But if I can get a couple of other people excited, and then if we can go out there and film it, and if we can interview some of these tourists and we can give them Bitcoin and we can tell them they're going to be on YouTube and then we can deliver, we can actually put them on YouTube. I think people are going to be super excited and they're going to tell their friends. They're going to be like, "Oh yeah, I was in Vegas and I lost $100 on the slot machine, but I bought $20 of this crazy Bitcoin. And I don't know if it's going to go up or down, but they gave me this flyer and they told me all about it. And I think that we can create that story times 100 and we can create it times 1,000. And then all the people at home watching the video can be like, hey, I could do that. I could print out some flyers. And of course, we'll open source the flyers and we'll release them and you can print them at home and take them down to your local square and just give them out. And if you want to, if you're a Bitcoiner, maybe you're kind of well off and you're kind of bored and you don't know what to do anymore, move to Vegas. Help us hand out these flyers. Help us make the World Crypto Network. Like Corey's saying, we're trying to get new shows, trying to get new people. We're trying to do 24/7, 365. I think Bitcoin talk show is a really cool idea. I'm totally cool franchising that and spreading it around, letting other people host. You don't have to listen to me all the time, which is another big point for the World Crypto Network. It's supposed to be a place where someone other than Mad Bitcoins talks about Bitcoin. I know that's hard for people to believe, but that's one of the original plans. Like I talk about it a lot. I figure I've reached the people I can reach, but I want to reach new people and other people, and I want to keep going on this. So, what do you think, Corey? I talked a lot there.
I think that we're going to make Vegas Crypto Town USA. I think that this is just the beginning. And I think that what the audience is going to see over the next couple of years is going to change the way that people absorb crypto information. But that being said, I got to get back to packing up my apartment. And well, my friend, I will see you tomorrow night.
Very cool, Corey. Looking forward to it. Keep in touch, and we'll see you soon. And I think we'll talk more about this Vegas plan. So, all right. Thanks so much, Corey. Oh, we got another call. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Thomas, Brandon here with, I'm in Seattle. How are you?
All right. Doing great, Brandon. What's on your mind today about Bitcoin?
Oh, not a whole lot. To be quite frank, I joined a little bit late. So, but what I did see on the video is the Armin Van Bitcoin thing where they're shining like the Bitcoin, it's almost like the Batcoin or the Batman thing, where the Bitcoin logo is on the bank. And I thought that was pretty cool, because it just goes to show you that just the popularity, how popular it's gotten, and I think in the future it's definitely gonna be used a lot more than it is now.
It is very cool, and it's neat to see people in far away countries. At least for me, Slovenia and Prague and these other places, that they're fans of Bitcoin too. And I like it because it's the same kind of thing I'm trying to say with the flyers. Like I'm going to film myself handing out flyers, right?
Yeah.
The goal is to get more people to hand out flyers. These guys film themselves putting the Bitcoin logo on the side of a bank. It's pretty obvious what they want you to do. They want you to go home, get a little portable projector, and project this on the side of your local bank. I'd love to see
Right.
Bitcoin projected on Bank of America, Wells Fargo, even if it's just your local branch. It doesn't have to be a big skyscraper. Stuff like this shows us, like you're saying, that there are Bitcoiners all over the world, and they're just as excited as you are about this, and they don't know what to do either. I didn't know what to do, how to tell people about Bitcoin. I tried being funny in a hat and doing all kinds of fun stuff. I think that's a good approach. Other people write books, other people make speeches, and then still other people project it on walls. So we need everybody on this. We don't need to chase people away. We need to add to our power and
Yeah.
not to reduce it. So.
Yeah, I mean, and I definitely agree. Like you said, this is not going to be the first instance where this happens. Now that now that there's a photo of it happening once, there's definitely going to be, like you said, I would think a lot more people adopting the same idea. And I mean, I completely agree. And one of the cool things that I like about cryptocurrency, not just Bitcoin, but just cryptocurrency in general, is for people like Venezuelans that, as you know, that their currency is going through hyperinflation and it's losing value every day. If they buy Bitcoin, even in a bear market where it might lose its value, it's still going to be, for the most part, what we've seen so far is it's still going to be worth more than the Bolivar hyperinflating. So I think things like that are pretty cool.
It is, and Venezuela wasn't even really ready for the Bitcoin. I think we'll see a country in the future, something like a technological country like Japan or something that's very first world, suddenly has an economic problem, and all the people know about Bitcoin, and they have a little bit already, and they have the ATMs, they have some infrastructure. I think that will be the big switch where we see, oh, economic problem, no problem. We just switched over to some Bitcoin, we changed our portfolios around, and we are just fine. And we could see the
Uh,
people actually survive an economic problem. Usually it's only the government that can survive because they have savings and they can borrow and print money and all that. Normal people don't have that money printing power. But Bitcoin gives them a safe place to store some of their wealth. I think it's really good.
yeah, and yeah, it's very cool. I do want to address something real quick, kind of just off topic, but one of the one of the people in the chat room was saying elder generation too stubborn and stupid for crypto, and I don't necessarily completely agree with that because I think what it is right now we have the early adopters, the early innovators in cryptocurrency right now, kind of like in '08, '09, or I think it was '09, when the only way you could get it was through mining or these other ways of getting it. But I think what the what needs to happen for mass adoption is just a better user interface and less complexity and things like that, because for this to really take off, I mean, it's going to have to be more simple, kind of like Visa cards and whatnot. Like you see I mean, I at least see some of the older generation and whatnot using visas like it's no problem, but they don't have to know the technology behind it, just to use it. So I think, just to address their comment, because I've heard it before, I think that that we just need more infrastructure. I mean, if you were to have something like a card that would be similar to Visa, but were to be able to spend cryptos, then you wouldn't have to know everything that's going on in the background. Kind of like with the internet, you don't have to know the whole TCP/IP, all these fancy terms for what's going on. People just use it.
I definitely think we're headed that direction. A lot of people, I think part of it is we don't exactly have this problem in the United States. For all the negative things we want to say about fiat or cash or money printing or all of this kind of thing, the dollar works pretty well. The credit cards work pretty well. Your average American isn't having a problem with their savings account. These are fringe problems for us. So for Bitcoin to take off here, it's not really our time, right? I mean, it's our time to talk about it and to work on the technology, and hopefully we can turn a bunch of programmers on and they'll get excited about Bitcoin. But as far as the American people, it's not really our time yet. And it sucks to be early because we're in such a hurry and we want things to be adopted and we want to move forward. But I think it's going to just be a slow roll. It's just going to roll forward, and it's more about Bitcoin inevitability. When you hold your value in Bitcoin and you just save it and it works and it actually goes up in value, you just kind of relax. You're like, oh yeah, I don't have to sell. I've got a little bit of money now. I can sell a little small pieces and maybe live for a while. That's when I think it just kind of relaxes in. This big merchant adoption push, and I've been involved in it on both sides and tried to push it for sure.
Mhm.
It didn't really work, right?
Right.
Excuse me. They like the merchants would adopt it, and then the people wouldn't shop there, or the people would want to shop there, but the merchants wouldn't adopt it. We're not really holding Bitcoin on our phones. We're not really using it transactionally right now, and generally, you can't be upset with people for that. It's not our time yet. America's
Right.
currency is pretty standard, decent at this moment. Like, I mean, you can claim, yeah, it's certainly overprinted, and there's certainly nothing to back it, and all those things, but it still seems to work pretty good. It's more just like we say Bitcoin, TCP/IP, and Andrea says, it bends, but it doesn't break. Cash is bending pretty good. Cash is,
Right.
we hate it and everything, but it's not exactly broken. So, fortunately, Bitcoin's a Swiss Army knife. It does all these other things. It stores your value. It kind of allows remittances, depending on the fees, these kind of things. So I think it's still valuable in all those things, and it's certainly valuable to spend online and to buy what you want, whether what you want is a pretty girl or some drugs or to hack the American democracy. You can buy anything with
Yeah.
Bitcoin. And then
Right.
this may be not the best advertisement because people don't like you doing any of those three things. But still, it's great money, So,
Mhm. Well, and yeah, I mean, I agree with your point about the whole user adoption because I I almost like the way that it's happening because when it just gives us more time to keep building the infrastructure. I called in once a few shows ago and was saying that yeah, even though we're in a bear market, it doesn't stop the programmers and developers from continuing to test Lightning and just continuing to implement and keep upgrading the back end and the system for when hopefully in the future for there to be more people and more of a mass adoption. But I do want to say one thing real quick is the other day at my job, this guy, it was just kind of like the perfect example for why I love cryptocurrency so much because he was making a purchase and it was about like $1,800 worth of goods, and his bank, he was a business owner, and his bank had blocked the transaction.
mhm.
It's like he you give your money to the bank and then they tell you what you can and can't do with it, and him and I were talking about it a little bit, and he was familiar with cryptocurrency and whatnot, but I was just telling him like it's ridiculous that we've been okay with that type of system for so long. Like I can't believe yeah, it's just crazy to think. Yeah, I just love being able to be in control of private keys and not have anyone be able to tell me if I can or can't spend my cryptocurrency or send it to someone. I like the freedom that brings.
See, and I think well, I'm going to cough more. I think that's the secret attitude that drives Bitcoin. Younger people hate controls. We've been taught since the beginning with the MP3 and the internet and all these other things. If you find a control, jump over it, go around it, ignore it. No one cares about the downloading rules or the MP3s or all these things, and they can't stand these banks either. Like,
Hmm.
Like you're saying, the idea that I should give this money to the bank and then they'll tell me how to use it, and they'll charge me fees for using it, and they'll charge me fees if my account doesn't have enough money in it, and they won't let you get an account if you're a 13-year-old kid and you want to trade stocks or whatever. They have all these ridiculous rules that make no sense to younger people who are used to just stepping around these rules. So I think what's going to happen, and again, it's painful and it's sad for everybody, but the old people like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, they're going to go away, and the young people, both the generation that's coming up now and the the generation behind them. Sorry, I just cannot stop coughing today.
Oh, that's all good, man.
But I think that the two generations coming up, they value their freedom so much, and it's not even so much libertarian freedom. They just hate controls. They see these walls and they see these barriers and they can't stand it, and they want their money on their phone anyway. They don't care if it's Apple or Samsung or Joe's Bank. They're going to want their
Yeah,
money on their phone, and if they can get that with Bitcoin, and if they can get no controls, and we also see they don't care about any of these controls about what you can buy. I think I haven't met that many young people in favor of the drug war. I
yeah,
don't meet young people
exactly.
that are all, in favor of being heroin or meth addicts. I think that's very dangerous and that's bad stuff. We should stay away. But the attitudes have changed, right? Things have changed. And
Yeah,
people don't want barriers in any part of their life anymore. So I think that's
yeah.
all good for
I mean,
Bitcoin.
yeah, no one likes oppression, and yeah, I mean, I completely agree with what you're saying about the younger generation. I mean, I'm 21 myself, and yeah, in Andreas's videos, he's always talking about that, about how people, I mean, from like your age and below, how how say kids that are in like junior high right now, I guarantee you they've at least heard of cryptocurrencies and whatnot. And like you said, there's a certain age that you have to be to even apply to a bank, and then there's the fees and all of these things that you mentioned that are just so outdated and antiquated. And so when they hear about a cryptocurrency, about uh, putting your money in here, and a lot of people, usually what a lot of people hear is like they put their money in there and it went up so much, and that's like the selling point. But I think that's one great selling point. But another thing is just all of the freedom and whatnot that the cryptocurrencies allow us, and that's definitely what's going to happen. To the person's comment that I brought up earlier, is I think what we're going to have happen in the future is the older generation, their ideas will kind of die off, and the younger generation will slowly cycle through and start implementing their ideas and things like that. That'll eventually it'll eventually, in my opinion, be where it's like, you either get on the train or you get left in the dust. And so that's what I think will happen slowly but surely as we go through time, is more and more, hopefully, people will be adopting this, and as companies make it easier to purchase and access it, I think we'll see more adoption.
And I think the hardest part about this is that there's no way to speed this up. We all want this to go faster. We're all from that younger generation. I played video games. I know what it's like. I want the next thing right now. I want the next thing right
Yeah,
now. They advertise movies to me, and I'm upset that they're not out the minute I see the advertisement. I want to go see it now. And that's what we all want. We all want massive Bitcoin adoption now. We want all our friends to be in it. We want to go down to the Quickie Mart and spend our money on Slurpees with Bitcoin and Lightning Network and all those things. But here's what it's going to take. It's going to take patience. We're going to have to wait years and years and years for these old gentlemen to leave us. We're going to have to wait years and years and years for these young kids to get to the point where they're voting, to get to the point where they're in charge, and that basically all of us are in charge, the entire internet generation. Anybody who touched the internet when they're a kid should be in charge now. Anybody who didn't should not be in charge. You have no idea what's going on. And that's, couldn't be more apparent than the person we have at the top right now who prints out his emails. But that's neither here nor there. So yeah, it's going to take patience. It's going to take time. And like we were talking about the technology earlier and making it easy and making it more user friendly. I've heard a lot of people that are upset because the Lightning Network, you have to pay in a different way than the way that you pay with Bitcoin. Well, I got a news flash for you guys. No one knows how to pay with Bitcoin now. No one
Yeah.
knows how to use your QR codes and your scanning thing. And yeah, it sounds easy to us. And we've used public-private key cryptography. And like you're saying with these kids, they've used World of Warcraft money. They've used Steam credits. They know how to buy things online with digital currency already. It doesn't involve crazy QR codes. The fact that the Lightning Network implementation is different is not a problem. I think that most normal people are probably going to jump over Bitcoin and go straight to Lightning, the same way that the Indian people jumped over desktop computers and dial-up modems and went straight to cell phones and portable internet. It's not unreasonable. There's no reason for them to have to know how the old Bitcoin send around works to use the new Lightning send around. It just needs to be easy, user-friendly, and again, they need a reason to use it. They're probably not going to have a reason other than, like we're saying, the young people, they just don't like your old money. They just don't like your old banks. This is going to be one of those generational things where you're like, those damn kids, they won't buy record albums. And now you're going to be like, those damn kids, they won't use the banks. They're ignoring the banking system. And nothing's going to change that. No amount of advertising, no amount of like making the banks cool. All the Chase banks near me, they look like Starbucks now. They have all those cool lamps hanging down from the ceiling. And it's like, it's the cool bank. No, that's never going to work. Like you could give away, you give away espresso machines. No one cares. Like no one's ever going back there. So,
Well, and to the point of the whole user adoption thing that we've been talking about, and so to the point, Marcelo DeMello said the domino effect already started, and I definitely agree with that because, yeah, because what happens is, I mean, I was the first person to inform all of my family about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and Litecoin and things like that. And so, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think it would be ignorant to think that people are just not going to spread the information. I mean, as it becomes more pronounced and more popular, people are going to, ask the coworker that is in cryptocurrency and in Bitcoin, like, "Oh, how did you get started?" And I've had a lot of my coworkers ask me about it, and a lot of them don't even know a whole bunch about it, but they at least know that I'm the person that is into it, and if they have any questions, I can always help them out with getting started. And so I definitely think that is, I mean, it's kind of obvious. It's kind of like stating, it's kind of being Captain Obvious, but yeah, I definitely think that that's one thing that'll help drive user, not user adoption, but yeah, I mean, user adoption and mass adoption is the people that are in the system right now spreading knowledge and and just helping people that want to get into it. Because around Christmas time, I had my stepdad and my mom and all of them being like, "Oh, you're into cryptocurrency. Can you?" Of course, they always want to buy the top, because
they really do. They wait. They
talking
wait until
about
the
it.
top.
The NBC is saying how to buy Ripple at like $3 something, and now they're saying how to short Bitcoin. But anyways, I mean, I think that is definitely one thing that sometimes gets underlooked is the people that are in the system right now. Um, eventually get questioned by their peers on how the system works. Once they've once that once they become curious enough, to ask those questions.
Well, and I think it's easier now than it's ever been to tell your family and friends about Bitcoin. They're actually interested in it now. You're unlikely to get a negative response. I got a bunch of negative response when I shared it with my family years ago. They got some of them actually got like upset at me, like that it was my fault that we were going to destroy the whole financial economy. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
no, this is happening with or without me. I agree. I talk about it a lot, but I'm not driving it or causing it. It's inevitable, right? It's just a thing that's going to happen. And they were like, no, no, no. And then, like you're saying, yeah, in December, they'd all turned around and they were calling me and my brother for trading advice. And they want to buy this altcoin and that altcoin. And they're just trying to make money, and I respect that. It's cool, but it's it's easier to make money when your friends tell you to invest in something risky. Like being
Yeah.
early and being risky is the thing to do, especially like yourself. If you're a young person, you could probably get wrecked 3 times in the next 10, 20 years and still live a nice life. If you're an older person, it's a lot harder to recover from getting wrecked. But if you're a
Right.
young person right now, you need to invest in some risky stuff. I didn't understand that when I was a kid. I had like a high interest savings account or something. It was terrible. I got
Mhm.
2% a year. Go out and get in some crazy stocks, get in some crazy cryptos. Be young, risk that money. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I completely agree too. And the other thing that's cool about what you're talking about is yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, "Oh, I want to learn trading and things like that," but there's also a lot of people that just buy and hold. And I know I was kind of slashing this last time I was on, but but I mean, yeah, I was buying last year around May and still have some of my Litecoin from then, and my position is still up almost up 2 times from last year, and that's in a current bear market, quote unquote. And
sure.
so I definitely it's kind of like the point that I brought up with Venezuelans and whatnot is I think eventually people are going to see, because here's the thing, a lot of people, I mean, no one is ever taught how money actually works in the school systems, and so they don't realize that the power of having a finite amount of Bitcoin or Litecoin or any of these cryptocurrencies that are finite. They don't realize the power of that, and the power of the deflationary currency. And so I think, yeah, I think a lot of people hopefully in the future are going to realize, like, holy crap, I have a coworker that put a couple grand into this, and they just kept holding, and now a few years later they're up a good amount, and and then hopefully that sparks more interest as well. Because yeah, I tell my coworkers, a lot of them are in stocks and 401k and whatnot, and I'm like, I have no interest in that. I don't care if the company matches. Like, I'll put my money into the cryptocurrencies that I like, and for my strategy, I just dollar cost average and keep holding. Maybe sell the pumps. When you pull out your profit when you need to. But
Mhm.
that's just kind of what I do. And yeah, I would love to see this eventually start becoming more popular, like we all hope and think it'll happen.
I think that's definitely the way to go. And the only thing I'd add is I think we all have this superpower right now. When I was at the Bitcoin meetup, I looked around the room, and I always do this. There's 4 or 5 people eating dinner with me, and there's maybe 20 or 30 people that aren't. And I always look at these people, and I'm like, they probably don't know about Bitcoin at all. They've probably seen a news story or something. They don't know how to hold it. They don't know how to put it on a hardware wallet. They don't know why they'd want to put it on a hardware wallet. So if you know these things, like I know these things, you're way ahead of all these people, and you might not realize it. I don't realize it, but I think that we have a lot that we could teach these people, and I don't feel like I'm giving away any secret here. But I think you could probably charge your friends $100 a time to get them to set up with a trading account or get them set up with a Trezor or a Ledger, and I think I could
Yeah,
do the same. And I'm not saying that I won't. I might do some Bitcoin
right.
beginner workshops, or I might do some individual video consulting. I know a lot of people seem to make a lot of money that way, and I don't need a lot of money, but if I had a little bit of money, that'd be good. And the same thing
Yeah,
for
of
you. I mean,
course.
you might not need a lot, or maybe $50 is more reasonable, or you could do it 5 at a time. But just
Right.
tell your friends, and also I think charging. Although it's hard to charge your friends, but it does open it up, like maybe your parents' friends, or maybe your workers' friends, friends of friends. They probably should pay you a little. But
Yeah.
you're charging. Your time has value. You can teach them how to do a hardware wallet. You don't need to really even know how a hardware wallet works. All you need to know is that if you can get your friend to send his Bitcoin from Coinbase to Trezor, he's way safer because his Trezor is safer than Coinbase, and he can even leave half of it in Coinbase. I mean, we're totally reasonable people here. We don't have to be
Right.
absolutist about anything. A lot of people are totally absolutist, and that doesn't help them at all. But yeah, teach them
Yeah.
about Bitcoin, have a little class, charge a little bucks, especially take them up in Bitcoin. So that way you can, get a little bit more Bitcoin. And I think we should all be doing this. And if I do it publicly or whatever, I'm not trying to stop you from doing it. I'm not declaring a monopoly on it. I think
Yeah.
we need tons more people in this, just tons more people. So
Exactly, and that's one point I want to bring up as well too. Is yeah, you mentioned helping the coworkers and whatnot get involved, because I mean, to the person's comment that I brought up earlier, a lot of people get so overwhelmed that they're like, man, I want to get into it, but there's so many things that it just becomes overwhelming for them. And I think it's it would behoove us and what we all want uh, to happen in cryptocurrency for us to educate and inform, because like I mentioned, I've got several coworkers that have heard about cryptocurrency, heard about Bitcoin. A lot of people have heard about it, but they've heard a lot of bad things. I mean, I had a coworker the other day that was giving me crap. He's like, "Oh yeah, how's that Bitcoin doing? I hear it's it's going down." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm buying more because unlike him, like I don't want to buy when things are going up. I want to buy when things are going down, especially because I believe in the uh, the currency so much and the ideas so much that when the price is not, the price is just one factor. But like I was saying earlier, the just because the price is going down, it does not mean that there isn't progress happening. I mean, Coinbase had their custody thing the other day, and this whole CBOE ETF. I mean, that's a lot more. As far as my opinion, that would be a lot more probable of being accepted by the SEC or whoever it's accepted by than the Winklevoss, because the CBOE, I mean, they've been around for a while and they've kind of established a reputation. And so, yeah, I mean, what I was just trying to make a point of is that there's a lot of those, and just in general outside of cryptocurrency, there's a lot of headline readers out there, and they'll hear that Bitcoin is dead and it's down however much percent from its high in December, and that's spinning the fact that it's still up from this time last year and things like that. So I definitely think it's on us, if we choose to dispel the not necessarily the FUD, but just the misinformation, and really educate people, because at the end of the day, that's how we progress, is educating people, like you said, what a hardware wallet is, and how to do the transactions. I mean, it's really not that hard. The whole hardware wallet thing, like if you can copy and paste and click the send button, then you can secure your coins, as long as you have that seed either memorized like I do, or hidden in a safe somewhere. I mean, but that's what I really think that we need going on in the future.
absolutely, I agree, and it's not that hard to set up a hardware wallet or to move your money around, but it is nerve-wracking to do it for the first time by yourself. As much as
Yeah.
even if you only have like $1,000 or something, you're moving your $1,000 from the exchange that you see as a safe thing. You're going to sue Coinbase if your money disappears, even though that's not going to work. But you think that, right? You have that in your mind. You're like, oh, they're like American Express. I'll just call someone up if I don't have my money. It's not going to work. But and then you move your money from Coinbase to the hardware wallet, and your money kind of disappears for a minute there. You don't know where your money is, and if you don't know about the Block Explorer, you don't know you can just copy and paste your address in there and see what's happening with your money. And if you had someone there just to teach you that, just to say, here's blockchain.info, you can copy and paste your address in here, you can see what's happening with your money. And then they'll have 100
Mhm.
questions, and everyone can see what's happening with my money, and that's true. Everyone can.
Yeah.
Only Coinbase knows that this was your account. Oh, so
Right.
Coinbase is the real problem here. Yeah, pretty much. So,
Yeah.
but again, there's a lot of Bitcoin you can learn even just from that one really small example there. So,
Right. And I will say one thing about the whole, people being scared about, oh, where are my coins, and they're really just waiting to get confirmed.
uh-huh.
Is the other day I have a Trezor as opposed to a Ledger. It's just the one that I have,
Hmm.
and I was doing an update, and it it asked me for my recovery seed and to completely wipe the device. So I made sure to go on Trezor's tester, the recovery seed tester, where you input your seed, and it tells you if it's legit or not. And I'll be honest, man, I was pretty damn scared when the Trezor was actually updating and erasing, the current firmware, because part of me in the back of my head was like, holy crap, what if this doesn't work out? Like, I've got so much money in the hardware wallet. But then what happened is, after a couple minutes of the update, all my coins ended up, appearing in the wallet, and everything is fine as normal. But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot to learn when it comes to the cryptocurrency, or when it just comes to cryptocurrencies in general. And like you said, the whole block explorer thing, and yeah, hopefully in the future people become less intimidated about it, because there's really not that much barrier to entry. A lot of people think it's too complex, but if they had someone like you or me sit down with them for an hour or two, I mean, we could really break it down into layman's terms to where they could really feel confident about the future currency, in my opinion.
And I think that's what's going to take. Everyone's looking for an easy solution or something that's going to turn on a million people at one time, like a football game or holding up a sign in the background of a hearing or something like that.
Yeah,
That's good stuff. And that makes everybody feel good. And I like that. And I support it. I'm not saying stop doing that. But that
true.
guy who's out there right now teaching people how to use hardware wallets, or my friend who, back in the days of Backpage, he used to teach all the prostitutes how to use Bitcoin so they could buy ads on Backpage. Stuff like this. Nobody's singing about this. Nobody's saying, "Oh, you did a great job setting up those noobs, and you answered 100 easy, boring questions over again for the 100th time." Nobody's celebrating that, but that's what's spreading the word about Bitcoin. That's what's getting new people into it. I know all the roommates in my house ended up with some Bitcoin. Some of them bought some crazy altcoins. I try to spread the word, and that's why I started this show and all these shows. Is people weren't talking about it enough. If you guys can believe that, like, no one was talking about Bitcoin, and now it's great. Lots of people are talking about it. People are talking about their favorite altcoins. They've got a whole bag full of them, all that kind of stuff. But that's going to come. This is a thing that's getting more popular, and we're in the middle still, and we're still in the early part. But yeah, I think it's a great lesson that you and I could do a lot of good, just teaching some normal people how to use a hardware wallet, how to buy some Bitcoin, and just a couple of the basics so they don't have to be so afraid of it. And then, best case scenario, they go on and teach 5 of their friends, and they teach 5 of their friends. And people might have this, why do you want to get more people into Bitcoin? Why do you want to share? Because it is going to ruin our secret garden, right? We have our little place with our crypto anarchists and our libertarians, and we get together and we have our political discussions, and it's wonderful. These new people don't give a shit about that, right? They don't care. They're not gonna care. The people that are just using the technology, they don't know what's behind it. They're never gonna care. It doesn't matter. You're never gonna reach them in that way. But if they use Bitcoin, whether they know it or not, they're with us. Just using
Right.
Bitcoin, participating in the system. They can't break the rules. 21 million coins, that's set in stone. That's a rule. 10-minute blocks on average, these kind of things. New users can't change that. And they're going to have to adapt to it. And yeah, maybe at some point they'll read a little bit about it and they'll say, oh, this does have a libertarian root, or this is kind of cypherpunk. And, oh, I'm kind of, digital future guy now. And they can be happy with that. They don't have to understand the technology or know how it works. They just need the basics of sending around the money, and they need to feel confident in it. And I think that's possible. I think that's going to happen.
Well, yeah, and that's just the thing about this currency is, it's a true global currency, and I mean, I've heard numbers of like 1 to 2% of the population is in it. And so when you have those people that are so impatient about when's the bear market going to end and things like that, it's like, if you could just have a long-term perspective. I mean, I know it's hard because, like you said, the whole patience thing, but if you could
Mhm.
have a long-term perspective of, let's just say we're in the 1 to 2% right now, and it's a
Mhm.
global currency. I mean, just imagine what 10% would be, or 15 or 20, or the whole mass adoption, which I think is around like 40 or something like that. Just imagine, to those people that are like, when's the bear market going to end? If they could have that type of long-term thinking of like, holy crap, this is a like a revolution, if you will, kind of in progress, then I think it would definitely help them, as far as their short-term thinking goes, if they could just adopt the idea, as opposed to just staring at the price. But the last thing I want to mention before I let someone else make a call is, and I'm not sure if you've commented on this at all or not, but have you? What do you think about the whole Litecoin Foundation purchasing, what is it, like 10% stake along with token pay of
Mhm.
some German bank? Like, have you kind of addressed that much?
I haven't really talked about it that much. A lot
Okay.
of the things that Litecoin is doing are kind of admirable, but kind of backwards. Just like Bcash, Lightning Network, or sorry, Litecoin appears to be focused on merchant adoption, which is again
Right.
a chicken without an egg. It's not going to work. I like the idea, but I don't think it's our path to victory. I think it's way too difficult to fulfill both sides of the equation. So you can get a
Sure.
bunch of merchants, but you can't get a bunch of shoppers, or vice versa. You can get a bunch of shoppers, but you don't have any merchants. I don't think that we're going to solve that one with brute force on either side. And I don't think there's anyone clever enough to manage both sides of that equation. They're very different people, merchants and consumers. So I don't think that's a starter. Buying the bank, I've heard a lot of different opinions. Some people are just completely down on the idea. They think it's terrible. I guess the bank is somehow associated to Deutsche Bank, and Deutsche Bank's a big giant bank that's committed lots of crimes. So some
Yeah,
people want
like
to
the largest
pillory
derivative
this
or
little,
something like
yeah, they want to slam this little bank and say it's no good because it's connected to Deutsche Bank. I think once again, it's probably a pretty clever idea for Litecoin to become a bank and to start offering these bank services. I think it's a sign of a future trend where Coinbase is trying to become a bank, and Facebook might buy Coinbase so that they could vicariously become a bank. Amazon.com is seeking to become a bank. They want to hold your money because you just spend it there anyway. They also want to become a healthcare company. Everyone's got to read Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. There's supposed to be a Amazon show about it soon, like a mini series. But you could go back and read the book. And basically, one of the conceits of the book is that all the governments and corporations are now on the same level now. The United
that.
States is a government and a corporation. Kentucky Fried Chicken is a government and a corporation. The pizza company,
Right.
which is run by the mafia, is a government and a corporation. When you work for the pizza company, you live in pizza company housing, you drive a pizza company car, and your insurance, everything comes from the pizza company. And
Yeah.
it's not unreasonable to say that's happening now. So if Litecoin's going to become a bank, it might be a good idea. We're also seeing some crazy things like that coin called Tron, which I still don't know anything about and think they should be sued by the creators of the movie Tron,
Yeah.
the Disney company. It seems pretty obvious they're using it's not a common word or name. I guess it's short for electron. But anyway, they're buying BitTorrent. They're buying not
Right.
not Bram Cohen, not the genius behind BitTorrent, but they're buying the good old company BitTorrent, which always had trouble trying to sell that technology and license it for legitimate uses. But now this bizarro random crypto coin has bought this used to be real thing. So things are getting really interesting out there. It's the kind of thing like maybe somebody will buy Yahoo or Flickr or AOL, and there'll be a cryptocurrency. Maybe PhotoCoin will buy Flickr from whatever company they sold Flickr to. I don't know. It's crazy to think about. I think it's really interesting. It doesn't really change my opinion of Litecoin. I still see Litecoin as a test net for Bitcoin, and it's very valuable and useful, especially during the SegWit debate when Litecoin was able to run SegWit and not have any problems. And now we have the potential to do cross atomic swaps on the Lightning Network, where you put Bitcoin into a channel and you pay me, and then I take Litecoin out of a channel somehow,
Hmm.
magic in between. So it's kind of useful for that, but I really don't know what use it has other than it's a copy of Bitcoin. But again, all these crazy things go up. If you think the chart is right and you want to make money off it, go ahead and make money on it. But Yeah, I don't know anything further than that, but
Okay, and then what is your because I mentioned it, but we didn't really get to discuss. What are your thoughts on the whole the CBOE ETF thing? I mean, do you think anything like that would help more mass adoption, or I mean, do you think it's like what are your thoughts on that? I guess.
sure. Yeah, well, I definitely think ETF is one of the big ones on my list of how we can turn the cryptocurrency price around. We need a big
Sure.
ETF. We need a big adoption, like if Amazon or eBay was like, we're going to take it directly. We're going to just use this Bitcoin thing, something like that, to clear away all the bad news and to actually get us some new buyers. The idea would be if Amazon or eBay took Bitcoin, a bunch of people would buy Bitcoin so they could use it on Amazon, so the price would go up. If we had a
Mm,
Bitcoin ETF, a bunch of people would be able to invest into Bitcoin with their retirement money, with their pre-tax
mm.
money, and then we'd have a whole bunch more buyers, and then Bitcoin would go up. So basically, we're looking for more buyers and less sellers. So that's what we need.
Yeah. Right. Right. Cool, man. Well, I definitely agree with you on that, and yeah, I think uh, that could definitely start just start having a lot more money come in and
Mhm.
making it more legit.
And
So
we've
because
seen
the
some
whole Coinbase
positive signs
investing
like
thing, when
the
I saw that,
SEC.
I was like, dude, it seems like some of the biggest announcements. I mean, it seems like some of the biggest announcements are in this bear market. So it's like when the bulls do come back in town, I think it's going to go higher and farther than we think because the infrastructure is going to be more developed than the last bull market.
I agree. The space is definitely getting better, and I agree with you earlier that the CBOE is more likely to get it done than the Winklevi. Better connections,
Right.
better at filling out forms. We also saw the SEC has lightened up their rules on ETFs, so I think it's looking good along that thing. But again, they're saying August 10th was one of the numbers, and they said they could even push that back to September. So no time soon. So we're gonna have to be patient for.
Right.
All right. Well, thanks so
Exactly. I mean,
much for your
if we've
call.
all been able to wait this long, we can wait a few more months.
There we go. See, we can make it through it. Patience is a virtue, right? Patience is a virtue. But thanks so
Exactly.
much for your
Well,
call,
hey, man.
Brian. Just call anytime. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
awesome. Thank you. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, bye bye. And you can call us now on Skype, World Crypto Network, all one word. Sorry if we missed your call earlier. We really only have one call at a time right now. I could answer other calls, but then I'd have to hang up on the caller, and that's not nice. But I think we're having a good chat here. Different ways to improve Bitcoin. I think the most important one is what you can do on your own, spreading the word. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Thomas, this is Rocky Palumbo from Southern California.
Welcome aboard, Rocky. What's on your mind about Bitcoin today?
I don't know if you know who I am. I have been on Andy Hoffman's show a couple of times, and Andy, and I'm sorry again, and Adam Meister's show a few times. Have you ever seen me?
I think a couple of times on the shows for sure.
Okay. Yeah, so I want to talk about old people in Bitcoin.
All right, tell me about it. Are you an old person in Bitcoin?
Well, if you've seen me on these shows, you know that I got a lot of gray hair. Let's say, who's the oldest person on the World Crypto Network? That would probably be Andy Hoffman, maybe. Well, let's just say I'm older
Right,
than
yeah.
Andy. Um, but I've been mining Bitcoin since January 2014. I ran a Bitcoin meetup. I founded and organized and ran a monthly meetup for 19 months. I've helped many, many, many people with their splitting their coins. I've been running a node for over a year. So yeah, don't count all of us old people out.
Well, I think that's great, and it sets an example to other old people. Have you been able to convince people of your group to join Bitcoin? What kind of a response do you get when you try to approach like your colleagues or your friends, people you hang with?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's Pretty much the same response as anyone, really. I mean, whenever you hear about such brand new technology, there's always a resistance to for that person to, adopt that new technology. I mean, look at credit cards. The very first credit card came out in 1950, but they weren't accepted in grocery stores, right? A staple purchase, right? Food. They weren't accepted in grocery stores in the United States on a mass scale until 1993. So that's what is that? That's 43 years of having credit cards before they're accepted in a grocery store, and that's not a new form of money. That's just a new way of using the same old money. So people need a little bit of patience here. People need to warm up to the idea. But yes, I've convinced people my age, even older, to look into Bitcoin, to throw a little bit of money at it. Yeah, you betcha.
It's also strange to see the habits change because, like you said, yes, they didn't take credit cards at the grocery store, and it used to be frowned upon if you would do a small purchase on a credit card. Like, oh, I only spent $5 or something. Oh, you should save your credit card for a big purchase, that kind of thing. But that just went away. In the same way, right? People don't use Bitcoin. Maybe in the future, they just start using it. It becomes more convenient. They add it at the grocery store, something like that. We need a big movement, something like that, to make it more useful. But yeah, I agree. People are definitely afraid of new technologies, and it's not unreasonable when someone comes to you and they say they've got this brand new thing and they made a lot of money and their friends made a lot of money, and maybe you could make a little bit of money. It's not unreasonable to be afraid of that. But do you think that people are coming around? Like, do you have old people that you talk to and they're like not into it at first, but maybe they come around? Or how long do you think it'll take to turn on these people?
Well, hopefully not 43 years. I think it will come faster than that. We're in the digital age. It's time we had digital money. Everything digital is better. I mean, when I was a kid, to communicate with family members back east or what have you, when it was your birthday and your grandmother sent you a birthday card with $10 in it, right? You got to send a thank you letter, right? So you would write a letter on paper, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, and she would get it, a week later. Well, who does that now, right? You send a text or you send an email, right? It's instant. Everything digital's better. I mean, look at digital cameras. I could take a picture. I've been a shutterbug since the 1970s. And, so of course I shot with film back then, and it was great to take a picture and fill a roll. You couldn't see your picture, right? You couldn't see it instantly. You had to fill a roll, then have that roll developed. And maybe a week later, you would see what you got on that picture that you took last week. So, and then you have this picture you're holding in your hand that maybe 5 people around you could enjoy that picture. Well, what can you do today? Digitally, you could take a picture, upload it to Facebook. Literally, thousands of people around the world can enjoy that picture all at the same time. So everything digital is better. So the same thing with money. It's just going to make money better being digital.
I agree. I think it's great. And it's funny you mentioned the photos and the photo developing. I was watching this great new documentary about Gary Shandling, the comedian. And Gary used to do a bit in his act, and I think it was the 80s or the 90s. Maybe he'd say, he got there and he'd be, oh, what's the deal with 1 hour photo processing? You're in such a hurry. You have to see the picture now. You just took it an hour ago. Things haven't changed that much. Like, and now you're right. People want it instantly. They want it just this second. They were just closed 2 of the last blockbusters. They were in Alaska, and Alaska still had bad internet coverage, so streaming hadn't really taken over. So you would still, and this has got to blow my viewers' minds right here, you would drive to the video store. You would choose your movie based upon looking at the box of the movie, maybe the poster, maybe reading the quotes on the back. Maybe your friend had heard of it and they heard it was a good movie. Anyway, you would weigh all of those things, pretty much have a debate right there in the store. What should we rent? Then you would drive home, watch it. It's probably not very good. And you still have to drive back there within the next 2 or 3 days to give them back their video. No one's going to do that anymore. It's completely over. And like our friend this morning, like Brian was saying, that the young guy, he was saying his friends have no interest or patience in banks. They don't care about there being a limit or their account being empty or whatever. They want to spend the money they have. They don't want there to be any barriers. And I think they find that in Bitcoin. And it doesn't matter if they have the values of the libertarians or the values of the cypherpunks. They have these new values of, I want it now. I don't want any rules. And they're not going to stop. So I think it's very exciting and very good. And it's great that you're able to turn on your friends to Bitcoin, Rocky, and to spread the word in your own way. And I don't want to give up on the entire older generation. And I think a lot of people have iPads and they're ready to go and they love new technology. Even if they're older, they find it to be gadgets and super fun and everything. 'Cause I certainly do. But I think that a lot of like the Warren Buffetts, the people who made their bones on the old economy, they're never going to come around. They just can't do it. But there's still hope for everybody else. I think we can do great
Yes.
things.
Yeah, and I hear you talk about these guys, and you sometimes refer to them as these old guys, as being old is bad. I don't think the reason why you don't like these people is because they're old. It's because of their power that they have. They have the power to manipulate the system into their to their favor, not yours or my favor. They never manipulate it to be better for us, right? It's always better for them, and so that's why I think that you don't like these people. So try to focus on that. Don't focus on the old thing so much. It's just a little bit insulting to me.
I know, I know. I'll try not to do it, but it's tough with groups like this. And I think the other thing that I would be critical of them is being inflexible. And whether we like it or not, as we age, we all become a little more inflexible. I like things a certain way. I don't like it when things are not a certain way. It's certainly something that I have, and I think I share with a lot of people. But yeah, this
Yeah. So,
inflexibility.
focus on focus on that they're inflexible. They're not willing to try new things. They're powerful, and because they say about power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So and they have so much power they could really tilt all the odds in their favor. But Bitcoin solves this problem, at least with currency. Bitcoin levels the playing field. Everybody's playing by the same rules. Nobody can manipulate it. It's set in stone. It's a done deal.
The other thing I like about this is they have so much power, and yet they still can't win. I don't see any winning situation for them. They're out there on a sailboat, and the wind is blowing hard, and the sea is rolling, and the waves are rocking, and they're screaming at the ocean, and they're saying, "Ocean, damn you! Why won't you conform? Why won't you be like you were 20 years ago, before these computer geeks took over and everything?" I think that they're just yelling at the ocean, and they're gonna lose. So yeah, I think they
Yeah.
look really
I,
foolish
I,
out there. So.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I'd also like to talk about SegWit. I did send you a link in the message here on Skype. I don't know if you could bring up that web page, but earlier today we had three 2 meg blocks in a row, and I just like to point this out because there's still people out there that think SegWit is not a block size increase, and SegWit is a block size increase. And so, having that visual, I think, helps when they actually see these three 2 meg blocks in a row. And the only reason why there's not more of these is because, uh, not enough people are switching to SegWit. I think it's very important that people switch to SegWit if you're making transactions. Now, if you're only buying and holding, you're hodling for a long time, years, and you're already set up in this legacy wallet, this wallet with legacy addresses, it's not that important to switch. But if you're making several transactions a day, even one transaction a day, one transaction a week, even one transaction a month, you should probably switch to SegWit. It really helps. It'll help you with your fees. It'll make it cheaper for you. It makes more room allows, for the Lightning Network and other second layer solutions and side chain solutions, it's just going to make Bitcoin so much better. It's really the better block size increase, and the core programmers, developers in Bitcoin, in all their genius, um, they're so smart. They found a way. Before SegWit, it was impossible impossible to do a block size increase without a hard fork. And they found a way around it. They did a block size increase in just a soft fork. And that just shows you just what geniuses these people are. But they're really bad at one thing, naming their updates, right? They should have never named it SegWit. Nobody understands what this means. They should have named it block size increase version 1 because SegWit is getting an update. They're going to be adding Schnorr signatures to it hopefully soon, next few months, hopefully by the end of the year. And this is going to increase the block size again up to 3.8 meg. So we're going to have almost 4 meg blocks as long as you're using it. We got to get more people to use it. You should start every show with SegWit is a block size increase. If you're not using SegWit, you need to switch. If your wallet doesn't support SegWit, it's time, people. It's time to switch. It's time to dump that old wallet. It's time to dump that blockchain.info, which recently switched to blockchain.com. Dump that wallet and get a wallet that supports SegWit. I used to tell people to write them, to tweet them, to try to motivate them to change. But you know what? It's been too long. It's been too long. They should have changed by now. Just dump that wallet and get a wallet that supports SegWit. SegWit came out.
And what would you suggest right now? What would you suggest for iOS, Android? What kind of wallet should people use? What are you using these days?
Well, if you have any significant amount of Bitcoin, of course, you should have a hardware wallet. So I really recommend the Trezor. It's, in my opinion, it's really the best hardware wallet. I do have a few issues with the Ledger Nano S, but it's still a good wallet. It's okay. I mean, if for some reason you want to lean towards that, as long as it's a hardware wallet, your Bitcoins are much safer. But if you need something more convenient, where you're accepting smaller and sending smaller amounts, and you want it just ready to go on your desktop, I suggest Electrum on your desktop. I even suggest Electrum on your phone, at least for the Android. I don't believe, is Electrum available for the iOS or for the iPhone?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
Yeah, and I think you have an iPhone, so maybe you'd be better to suggest the best wallet for that. Probably Bread.
Yeah, I'm not sure right now. I feel like I'm kind of in between wallets right now. I'm in a strange place. I used to recommend Airbits, and I was big fans of them, and I thought they're good people, and I like the way that you could have a username and a password. I know that's not the most anonymous wallet in the world, but to give to a normal person, at least if they have that username password, they have a chance at getting their money back. So I used to use Airbits, but then they became Edge Wallet or something, and they're all into altcoins, and they're attacking the Lightning Network, saying that it's an altcoin, and saying that they don't have to develop for the Lightning Network because it's an altcoin. And I really don't agree with any of that. So that's been a bummer for me. So I'm kind of like a man without a wallet now. So yeah, I'll have to try out Bread. I've heard good things about Green Address. I think it's set up by the Blockstream guys. It used to be an independent company, but they bought them. I know they were very early to have SegWit, but I just haven't set up a wallet. I've got to, write down my private words and do all that stuff. But yeah, I need to get that going. It's a good point that people need to switch to SegWit wallets, and we also need to probably start switching to Lightning wallets. I've been a little slow on testing Lightning wallets as well. There's not really a good one for iOS yet. There's one that uses the testnet, but I haven't really gotten into it. But again, there's just not time for everything.
Kind of dragging my feet, to do my first Lightning transaction, but I actually was motivated to do one last week, and it was a great experience. I used the Eclair wallet on the Android, and I downloaded it, installed it. It's just like setting up a Bitcoin wallet. It gives you wallet words, seed words to write down. Mm-hmm. And you just fund it. You send it some Bitcoin, on the main chain, and then you transfer it to a Lightning channel. It's really easy to do. If you could scan a QR code, you could do this. You don't need to know all the details of how it works. So once you have this channel, you just start sending funds. And the first thing I bought, I told you I'm in Southern California here, but I bought some patches. Some embroidered patches, you sew on your shirt or jacket, they're Bitcoin patches from a company in England. And as soon as I pressed the pay button, it showed up on my phone, paid. and on the website instantly, paid. And so that was a done deal. No waiting for transaction, or no waiting for confirmations. It's just done. And then 2 hours later, I received an email that my order had shipped. So yeah, Lightning is awesome. It's still very, very new. I mean, Bitcoin's new. Lightning is, of course, even newer. So we got to wait for it to, get more established. But it's really growing fast. It's growing faster, really, than anyone ever predicted.
Well, that sounds great. I got to try that out. I'm totally envious of that experience. A lot of my day, I spend, a couple hours doing this show and trying to get things ready for other shows. And then I like to do other things. I like to read a book or watch a movie or play some video game. I'm still well into Watch Dogs, very much enjoying that game. But
Oh,
yeah,
well,
I need
one other
to.
thing about that transaction, because I opened the channel on the node that was receiving the payment, there was a zero transaction fee. So it was instant and it was zero fee. Now I left that channel open and made a couple of other payments to other places, and those cost me, each of them cost me 13/1000th of a penny.
That's fantastic. I think we're getting
Back
there.
to the
This new
SegWit thing, though, because I was
technology.
saying that SegWit was released in October of 2016. Now, in January of 2017, blockchain.info said, we're ready for SegWit. Of course, it wasn't, activated yet. So it wasn't until August of 2017 that SegWit got activated. And then, here we are, July of 2018, and blockchain.info still hasn't added SegWit support. So, it's one of the biggest, most used wallets, just because they got in early and it was a relatively easy sign up process. So a lot of people did it. But it's pretty much known as the worst wallet in Bitcoin. It really is bad. I heard so many bad things about it. I never used it myself, but then somebody had a problem with it who contacted me for help, and I was able to help them. They had their older legacy wallet, which they don't even support on their website anymore. And he forgot his password. And so they do have a recovery system if you have the newer style wallet. If you have their legacy wallet, good luck. They don't have any tools to help you recover that. So if anybody needs help doing that, I can recover that for you. But yeah, you got to dump these wallets that do not support SegWit. It's time. And when we get this other update to SegWit, what I like to refer to as SegWit 2.0, with probably it's going to have the Schnorr signatures. I really want to see these block size bigger. I want to see these almost 4 meg blocks. It'll be great, and it will really help keep the mempool down, keep the transactions cheap, and keep all the whole works running smoothly. So switch to SegWit, people, please switch to SegWit.
Some great information there, and I definitely agree with you about blockchain.info. Even though I have some friends that have worked for that company, and I think there's some good people over there, I don't know why they can't get their act together on that wallet. People have had nothing but problems with them historically, going back way back in time. They used to send you essentially a link to your private key in your email. So if you hacked anyone's email, you could search for an email from blockchain.info and steal their account right there. That was a big
Yeah.
problem for a long time. I think they stopped
Yeah.
that. Uh, and then
Yeah,
they
I
had the random number generator problem. They weren't using a proper
uh,
random number generator, and somebody went in and hacked a bunch of accounts. Fortunately, it was a white hat, so he kept the money separate and he returned the money to the users, which again they were lucky on that one too. But yeah, and I've just heard all kinds of horror stories of people losing their money there, and it's sad they haven't upgraded to SegWit. It's sad to see. I don't think BitPay is upgraded to SegWit either. They're trying to charge their customers ridiculous fees and claiming that it's the Bitcoin network charging them when it's not. It's BitPay, and I don't know why these legacy companies, these old companies, can't adopt to this new technology. They have tons of money to hire people and to set the right direction, and things like Airbits saying that Lightning is an altcoin and therefore they don't have to develop it on their Bitcoin wallet. That's not a valid excuse at all. If you don't have the resources or something, that's a separate issue. But if you can hire programmers and you can improve your product, you can upgrade to the Lightning Network, you can upgrade to segregated witness, and it's far past time. So yeah, you're right. We could give them more crap and try to get them to change, but I think it's time for us to change and to move on to SegWit wallets. I totally agree with you, Rocky. It's a good call.
Yeah, I've motivated lots of people to try to convince them to do this update. I think I know why they haven't. I did send you another link, if you could bring that up on your screen. But if you look who has funded blockchain.info in the past, I mean, we got Roger Ver and Barry Silbert. So I think that's your main reason why we're not seeing an update there. You know, they're doing everything they can. That link's not working.
No, you can send it again. Yeah, it's unfortunate that those that they don't believe in the technology either. I know they have lots of altcoins and lots of different bags and that kind of thing. It looks like it's still the same link. Yeah, it just says log into Twitter. Not sure why.
Yeah, that's weird. Okay, well, anyway, what that showed you is another one of my tweets that shows Roger Ver's mining pool, you know, Bitcoin.com's mining pool, mining small blocks, very small blocks at a time when the mempool was backed up. Let's see, well over, what was needed to fill a block. And so it really showed, which I wish you could have brought it up. It's, because seeing is believing, but it really showed how he's mining these small, tiny blocks at a time when the mempool's backed up, after he was campaigning for 2 years about how the core developers had a small block policy. And now here he is, he can mine much bigger blocks, yet he's mining small blocks. So I ask you, Roger, who has a small block policy? To me, it looks like you, not Core, because they came out with an update that did increase the block size, and you're still mining the small blocks. So, oh yeah, you got it up. So yeah, if you could.
It does seem more and more like they've just been disingenuous this whole time. Like I tried to explain to people yesterday, we thought we were having a scientific argument or a debate or discussion about the small blocks and the large blocks, but it just seemed like they're all about this ASIC boost advantage. And that's the only thing that's really true here is they were trying to stall the discussion and stall the debate. And every day they got to mine real Bitcoin with ASIC boost was a win. And now they're mining Bitcoin Cash with ASIC boost. And I think that's probably just what it was all about. And that's why it's so disappointing to people, because they thought they were in a scientific discussion and they thought all sides were being intellectually honest. And it turns out that it doesn't seem like their side was. So it's very disappointing.
Tom, it's all about the ASIC boost. I mean, this is why they didn't want SegWit, because it was a malleability fix, and that malleability fix broke their ASIC boost. Mm-hmm. So that basically tore up their 20 to 30% coupon off their electric bill, and they didn't like that. And that's the whole reason why we have Bcash today, is because they could still mine that with their little advantage. And that's the only reason, in my opinion, that's why it exists. That's the only reason, because they still use that little advantage that they have. But yeah, I think the first time I was on Adam Meister's show was about a year ago, and I did the whole show about ASIC boost and what it was all about. And it's kind of and how it was the real reason behind why the miners were not signaling their readiness for the update. But it's kind of funny, because a couple months ago, Microsoft did a study and came to the same conclusion. I'm like, you should have just watched the time I was on Adam Meister a year ago. That's all you had to do.
Oh, totally. Well, I agree with that. And it's been different levels of obvious and not obvious over the years. And the new people still have to learn this. And maybe they just got into Bitcoin Cash because they thought it was Satoshi's true vision, and they didn't know about all the shenanigans that have been going on. And it's not immediately apparent. No one tells you right away, oh, that was all about this 30% advantage and how it all works and everything, because it gets pretty complicated in there. But it's good we're back on the right track now. And like you're saying, Schnorr signatures are on their way. Segregated witness is giving us larger than 2 megabyte blocks. So we did have a block size increase, like Brian Armstrong and the rest of them had to have to run their business. But nothing happens when you want it. You have to be patient. Even if you're a big company and it's important to your company's bottom line that you get more transactions on this network, nothing happens because you want it. It happens because you're patient and because you work on it over time. So
Yeah, and the SegWit 2x thing that you know contender against Bitcoin that they tried to say that this is the better way to go. As soon as that came out, I was telling everybody they don't want this. They don't want SegWit 2x. They don't want SegWit. Even SegWit 2x would still break their ASIC boost. So I know they don't want it. And then sure enough, right before it was released, they canceled the whole project. There are some people trying to carry it on now, but I mean, it's basically dead. But I mean, how did that project get canceled? With the signature of 6 people. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, can you say centralization? There are no 6 people in Bitcoin that could sign anything to cancel any kind of update or to do anything in Bitcoin. It's consensus. It's like the vast majority of people all have to agree. And so to support something like that in a decentralized network like what this is all supposed to be, what it all needs to be, is just crazy. I mean, so anybody who really supported that, you have to question their motivation and why would they support something like that when it's completely opposite, wrong way to go.
Well, and even today, when we found out that the Russian hackers were using Bitcoin while they were trying to hack the American democracy, I disagree with the Russian hackers. I don't think that they should be hacking the American or any other democracy, but I don't disagree with their right to use Bitcoin. I believe they should be able to use Bitcoin to buy any services they want, and that those services should accept Bitcoin. Whereas if we had the system in SegWit 2x people or these Bcash people, and we had this system where there's only 9 data centers in the world and they're the only ones mining Bitcoin, then it would be very easy for a government or a company or anyone of that level to go ahead and invade those 9 data centers, either shut them down or take them over, and to block these transactions from going through, and to block these Russian or any other kind of hackers from buying domain names or buying hacking tools or whatever they purchased. And that would be wrong. That would make Bitcoin less good money because it wouldn't work for the Russian hackers. And as absurd as it might sound, I disagree with their motives, but I respect their right to use money. And that's going to come to a head. We're going to have a lot of big discussions and debates about that because essentially I'm saying that all of the drug cartels can launder all the money they want, and all of the illegal medical supplies or kidnappings or whatever horrible things people are doing in the world, they'll be able to use Bitcoin as their money. But also all the good people will be able to use Bitcoin as their money, and they won't be interfered with either. So I'm willing to allow the negative things in order to allow all the normal people to be free. I think that's a greater good. But people are going to debate this and discuss this. It's far from over. There's 2 sides to this issue, most certainly. What do you think, Rocky?
Yes, money should not be illegal. Oh, why is money illegal? I don't understand that. It's my property. You want to think of it as your property, right? You worked for it, you earned it. You should be able to do whatever you want with it. I mean, but if you have, $15,000 or $20,000 in the bank, try to go to the bank and withdraw $12,000. Just try it. What they say. $12,000 cash. And they'll say, "Oh, yes, sir. What are you going to do with this money? None of your business. It's my money. Give me my money." Well, yeah, but what are you going to do with it? They won't give you your money unless you tell them and convince them that you're going to go put a down payment on a car or a house or whatever you're going to do with it. You got to convince them that you're going to do something that they deem good enough to give you your own money. It's ridiculous. And then if you get caught driving with it, like say you saved a bunch of money, like there's that famous situation where the guy was saving money for years for when his son turned 21. He was going to take him to Vegas, and they were driving through Texas. On their way to Vegas, it got pulled over for just a minor traffic violation, and the cop had happened to see the duffel bag or whatever. So what's in there? Oh, we're going to Vegas. It's my son's birthday. I've been saving money forever. Oh, really? How much money's in there? And there was like 10 or 11, $12,000. They were going to stay in a nice hotel. They're going to do some gambling. They're going to have some nice dinners. So he had some cash with him. Well, the cop took the money. They didn't get charged with a crime. They weren't suspected of doing any kind of crime. He just took their money. It's called civil asset forfeiture. How could you take somebody's property like that in a country that's supposed to be free? I don't get that.
It is absurd, and I think I heard of that story, and it also happened recently on an airplane. A man took his life savings with him on the airplane, checked his bag, something like that. They opened the bag; it's full of cash. He earned it legitimately, working his whole life, and he was taking it to his family overseas, something like that. And he didn't know the rules, all the different. You can't take this much, you can't take that much. He's just a normal guy, works a normal job, and yeah, they kept all the money, his life savings. And they're trying to get it back and all that, but I totally agree with you. Civil asset forfeiture is really unacceptable. And if they had those Bitcoin in an encrypted wallet, with the exception of torturing them, which our government does do sometimes, unfortunately, but with the exception of torture, they can't get those keys from them. There's no computer science way. There's no backdoor into Bitcoin that we know of. All these things. And that's what makes it better money. And you can spend it anywhere, whether you're a Russian hacker or a Southern debutante or whatever. You can spend Bitcoin. You can get what you want, and that makes it good money. And the rest of these issues, we're going to have to debate them. We're going to have to discuss them. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin doesn't care. The network that currently allowed those Russian hackers to buy their hacking tools is the same network you can use to buy ice cream or get some stuff on Amazon or trade with your friends. And the network doesn't care what your purchasers are for. I think it's a great point Rocky brings up about the bank not wanting you to have your money. I know when I tried to go to Europe, I tried to get some cash out, and I don't ever really use cash that often other than, $50 here or there. And like Rocky said, yeah, they had a limit. They wouldn't let me have more than, I think, $250, maybe $500. I was going to be gone for several months. I don't like to carry a lot of money, but it would be good to have a couple bucks with me while I'm in Europe. And they were totally, they would not work with me at all. They wouldn't raise my limits. They said they were the highest limits they had. They said that in 24 hours, I could come back and get another 250. And I said, in 24 hours, I'll be in Europe. This isn't going to do me any good. But yeah, you'll find that with the banks. You think that they're holding your money, but really it's their money now. So it's a good lesson to learn.
I haven't done much traveling like that, but from what I understand, if you notify them ahead of time, there might be something they could do. But yeah, that's definitely an issue. Anybody who thinks they have money in the bank, you don't. If you think you have money in the bank, try to go withdraw a large sum. And, I'm willing to, give you my identification, show you who I am. But what business is it of theirs what I'm going to do with that money? It's my money. I worked for it. I should be able to spend it anywhere I like. And it's really nobody's business. It's kind of like my house, has big windows on it, especially a big window out front where people could look right in. But I have drapes there, right? And the drapes are usually drawn closed. It's not that I'm, cooking meth in my living room, right? I just like my privacy. No, nobody needs to know whether I'm on my computer or watching TV or no matter what I'm doing. Nobody needs to know. I just want my privacy. So it's a big issue, and I think Bitcoin could definitely help in this area. And as far as giving your keys away, if you have the Trezor, it does have that plausible deniability feature where you have your 24 words and you put a small amount of Bitcoin in there, but then you go into the settings and you add that little 25th word where you could put then large amounts. And if your device does get confiscated and they want to know your password, they will see that small amount, but they won't know that 25th word to see the larger amount. And you could actually have multiple 25th words.
That sounds great. You could also have multiple Trezors and ledgers. You can hide them, you can bury them, you can store them all over. And I think it's really exciting what Bitcoin's going to do by changing the way people access their money and giving them control over it. And like you said, privacy is a human right. It makes people relax. It makes them feel comfortable to know that they're not being spied on or listened to all the time. And it's so funny in this world where everyone's running off to Amazon and Google and lining up to bug their apartments. And they'll put bugs in every room. And you can get a bug that fits in the light switch now. And you could talk to the light switch. Or the one last time was the water faucet. You can install a bug in your water faucet. You can turn your water faucet on and off with your voice. It's slightly more sanitary, I suppose. But again, it also leads to a database of when you turned your water on and off. And now I can ping that and I can see water statistics for everyone who ever owned the Alexa-enabled Amazon faucet. And of course, now it's only optional, but soon it'll be standard. Everyone has a bug in their house. Everyone has 5 Amazon bugs in their house. Your phone's a bug. So, but that all happens with or without us. So we'll have to just see how that turns out.
Yeah, I really don't see how some of these laws are in place and supported with what is it, the Fourth Amendment? The right to your effects. How could they just have the civil asset forfeiture when you haven't been suspected or tried or accused or anything of a crime? I just don't get that. How that's got to violate a amendment.
Yeah, the Fourth Amendment, the right of the people to be secure in their persons and things, not subject to
Yeah, their
unreasonable
persons and
search.
effect. I think it says.
Yeah,
Effect.
persons and effects. Yeah, it's a great one. And Hunter S. Thompson used to be a big fan of it. He had the Fourth Amendment Society, and he would send out things about how important he thought it was that we were free from search and seizure. But what's so sad is most of it we're just giving away these days. We're installing the bugs ourselves. We're putting everything public. So it is nice to have something like Bitcoin where you could still have some value and no one knows where it came from. Maybe not even you.
Well, search and seizure I see is different because you're being suspected. You're a suspect of a crime, and the law enforcement goes to a judge and gets that right to look through your things. But that judge has to agree. Yes, there's enough evidence here to infringe on their Fourth Amendment rights. So yes, I give you that right to do that. We're in these cases of civil asset forfeiture. It's just the cop's view at the time. He doesn't have to get anybody's permission. No judge or anybody. You're not being charged. It's ridiculous.
That is much worse. Recent changes to the way search and seizures and personal evidence are used against you. I heard in something called the Carpenter case that the Supreme Court had changed that and actually restricted the government's ability to use your own personal files against you. And they were hoping this would apply to the Ross Ulbricht verdict and that he would be able to get a chance at the Supreme Court and an appeal because of the way they used his personal effects against him, trouncing over any rights that he may have had. But that was rejected. They did not approve Ulbricht's appeal. So,
yeah, there's a lot of sketchy things about that. I don't know that much about it, but from what I've read, that's a bad situation with Ross there.
I thought it was especially funny to see the Congress waste an entire day interviewing Mr. Stork about the FBI when he seems like a really upstanding FBI agent. He had these text messages which were inappropriate, and he used his work phone, so he made a mistake there. But he seemed to have made no actions. He seemed to have only discussed his personal views in private, which used to be totally acceptable. When on the other side, you have these FBI agents who are literally in jail, who literally stole money from Ross Ulbricht while he was running the Silk Road, and lots of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars of money. And yet they're in jail. We never have a hearing about that. FBI corruption in tracking down the Silk Road. It seems like that would be a perfect avenue to get Ross a better appeal or something, but they wouldn't even allow that to be discussed during his case. During his case, the jury and the witnesses did not know that the FBI agents who framed him for the murder, they framed him for a lot of other things. They were inside of his operation, and they were stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from him, and they are now in jail. Ross has a much worse sentence, but they are also in jail, and Congress never talks about them. So.
Yeah, I mean, let's be saint. I mean, Ross was no. Let's be clear here. Ross was no saint. But I mean, how about we let the evidence be heard all the evidence be heard, and let the punishment fit the crime. So I think these things have been grossly violated in this case.
Well, and let's convict him on the crimes he actually committed. There's a lot of talk of this alleged hit, and that he ordered the hit, but the hit was an FBI entrap, right? It was the FBI saying, "Oh, hey, you got this problem. We'll take care of it for you." They produced the problem, they produced the solution, and they knew what the reaction would be. So I never found that very convincing, and yet that's not what he was tried on, but that is what they poisoned the jury pool with. And they said over and over again about how he's a killer and he's a gangster. And really, that was the only gangsterish thing that he did. He never had a yacht or a big boat. He never had coke parties with hookers and strippers and dancers or whatever. I never heard about anything like that. And that's the only way they felt they could convict him, by putting him in that "you're a gangster drug dealer" box. When really it seems like he was much more of a libertarian freedom fighter running a free and open market, which his political views supported. So it's very tough to convict him on that, but they did. And he got double or triple life sentences, worse than any other criminal in our system. So it must have been pretty bad, this imaginary hit against this person who was a government informant, and the government people who faked the hit. That all must have been really terrible. It certainly wasn't about him embarrassing the United States government by running a drug market with less violence. Large amounts of cannabis were traded for large amounts of money with no violence on either side. That was the real result of the Silk Road.
Yes, these cases and these things like the civil asset forfeiture really has me concerned about certain things in this country. And I saw a graphic the other day how there is more civil asset forfeiture. The money that brings into law enforcement is more, in this country, is more than the total burglaries in this country. Than the money that burglars get from stealing from people. So wow, that is. And all from people who were, not, booked for any crime, not accused of any crime. That's not good, in my opinion.
It's pretty bad, man. And if you want to know more about civil asset forfeiture, check out John Oliver. He did a whole program on it on his last week Tonight show. It's probably on YouTube and stuff too. It's at least 15 minutes. And like you're saying, he mentions all these cases where the man had his life savings, or they were going to Vegas, and they'd all earn the money legitimately, and they weren't criminals. But we have these bizarro laws to punish criminals. Essentially, anyone with too much money who's spending it how they want to is a criminal in our system. And we need to watch out, because that's, again, like that first they came for these people, and then they came for the Christians, and then they came for the Jews and all those things. And I didn't say anything because I wasn't one of those groups. Well, you could accidentally have more than $2,000 on you. You could be driving to another state to go have a good time gambling, or to give your life savings to your family, something like that. And before you know it, these laws that you didn't think would ever affect you end up affecting you, and they end up stealing your life savings. So that's why we have to look out for these things and take this into account. But thanks so much for your call, Rocky. I'd love to get you into the Slack and get you on the World Crypto Network more, maybe just as a regular caller or a co-host. But I appreciate your contributions and being on Adam Meister and the Hoffman Show and all that stuff. A really good call. Thanks so much, Rocky.
Hey, thank you very much, Thomas. It's a pleasure, and I've been watching your show for a very long time now, the World Crypto Network. I really love what you guys are doing over there. I tell everybody I meet, if they want to learn any more information, to tune into the World Crypto Network on YouTube. I mean, it's really one of the best sources for information. Whether you're new, there's good shows to watch, or if you have a little more Bitcoin knowledge, there's good shows to watch. So it's got something for everyone. Spread the word, everyone. Watch the World Crypto Network. Thank you very much, Thomas. You have a good day.
Thanks so much, Rocky. And yeah, give us a call anytime. It's good stuff. And before someone else calls in, which is probably going to happen, you can call us now on World Crypto Network, all one word, on Skype. I wanted to mention something from the previous caller. We were talking about what you could do. And I've heard a lot of people saying, don't say negative things, don't talk about the price. Buildle, right, is their new thing they're trying to sell. And I like this idea of build. But the problem is, if you're not a programmer and if you're not a businessman, I don't know how you get involved in build, right? That's not open enough for me. What I'd like to see is something like participate or participatal or whatever we can, brief that down. But just participate, right? And like we were talking to Brian about how he could teach people how to use hardware wallets, and I could teach people how to use hardware wallets, and we could all do it. There's more than enough people in the world to teach this, and we don't have to get competitive or run each other down. I think we could just support each other for teaching people about these wallets. And that's what I would like you to do. Is I'd like you to participate. Participate by teaching your family if they're interested. If they're not interested, like, let's be clear. If somebody says, no, I don't want Bitcoin, it's a Ponzi scheme, I don't have time to work with that person anyway. So let's just move on from that person. And when someone does have a little bit of interest and they're like, yeah, I've heard of that Bitcoin, but I haven't tried it out, whip out your phone, get them a wallet, and give them $1, right? Even if it costs you $1 to send the dollar, which I've done that. Get them $1, get them to try it out. Get them to put the dollar in different wallets, move it around. Get them to try out the Bitcoin technology. And, tell them a couple things. Tell them how there's no central bank and there's no central government and there's no central corporation, and yet it works anyway. And they don't need to know all the technicals, but just a little bit. And I think that we can all participate in this way. We can all spread the word about Bitcoin, one person at a time. And it's not going to happen overnight. And the bear market's not going to turn overnight. And the adoption's not going to turn overnight. But if we each convince one person a day, if we each convince 10 people a week, if we each convince 40 people a month, if we can, build this thing up slowly, that's how it's going to take off. And it's not going to be exciting, and it's not going to be sexy, and it's not going to be because you trained that one person and they were the Johnny Appleseed, or you cracked the code, or the next person you told 10 other people. All of that is great, but it's only through all of that together, through the cumulative action of us all being positive and working on this thing. And yeah, people think, oh, Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme, because as soon as you get into it, you start telling other people about it. But that's also true for anything that is good. You hear about a new TV show or a new religion or something, and you think it's really good. Of course, you're going to tell everybody about it. One of the reasons that the religious people are so, endearing or whatever, or so annoying, I don't know, one of those, is because they're going door to door to try to save people. They're going door to door trying to help people. They believe so much in their religious idea that they're willing to take your rejection, your negativity, because maybe they'll save one of you, and maybe they'll get one of you into heaven. And in the same way for Bitcoin, maybe it's not the same religious fervor, and you shouldn't even be talked of in the same conversation, but it is kind of a conversion when you go from knowing nothing about Bitcoin to being into it. And there's different steps and there's different phases, and I think we can help people in all of these steps, and that you have the knowledge to share with your friends and family, and you have the knowledge to share with your buddies at work. And even if they don't believe you the first time, or if they're not interested, don't let that get you down. I get a lot of negative comments here. I get a lot of like, I've been listening to you for years, but you've gone over the line now. And it's a bummer. I want people to be happy and to listen to me. And if they're not happy, that's too bad. But I can't fix them all. And I can't change the show for every single negative comment I get, because there wouldn't be any show. So, and the same way, if you're going to try to teach people Bitcoin beginners or Bitcoin basics, or even just spread the word, tell people about it at your concert, or tell people about it at your work, you're going to get some negative feedback. You're going to get some Ponzi schemes and some Silk Roads, and some outright indignation. Some people might be mad at you for destroying the economy, but it's not your fault. You're just a part of Bitcoin, and you can just see the inevitability of something that a lot of other people can see the inevitability of. It's not just you or me. There's a lot more to that. But I think we're heading towards the end of the show. We've had a lot of great callers today. Some of them were a little long. I'll try to work on that for other shows so that more people can call in. I know that can be a problem. But when you have a caller that's really good, has some good information, I tend to just let them go. I don't mind that much that we go long if the caller's really good. I agree it does kind of change the show. I had some good comments. Oh, there's one more call. Let's see if we can get him in. Let's see. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Martin. I'm calling from Switzerland, but from Slovakia. I'm from Slovakia. So it was very interesting to hear about your news, which my mom called me, and now we finally hear about your Bitcoin. She called me, and I said, because of the projection of the National Bank of not Slovenia but Slovakia. So
Oh, that's fantastic. So it did work. It got the word out to your mom, and now she's into Bitcoin, or she's at least heard of it because it's
well,
projected
she
on the
did
building.
before because she holds part of my private key, and she has a brand new Trezor just in case, and I had to teach her how to use it to, well, just in case, so she would be able to recover funds, and it took me a while to teach her how to do that and how to use a hot wallet on mobile phone, and now she's quite okay with that, but she still doesn't understand the whole fundamental behind the Bitcoin, as you mentioned previously. Why the sound money are so important than the fiat money. She doesn't get it. So she accepts Bitcoin, but she doesn't know what's the point of it. So
See, and that might be enough. I'm not sure we even need more than that. It's a good start, and I think she's on her way there. And we don't need to hurry people or rush them. I think if she needs to know more about Bitcoin, she'll learn it. But if you can get her just to send it around and to know the basics and to kind of know what it is, it's more than enough, don't you think?
oh, definitely. But as I say, she did couple of transactions already, just so she's familiar how to use a hot wallet or mobile phone. I showed her how to recover or how to use the seed for a Trezor, so she can activate and get into the wallet when I would lose mine or something. So, well, she knows the basics, which are the most important. Right? So I'm very happy for that. And what I was going to say originally is that when there was a hype about Bitcoin in end of December, January, the media in Slovakia were covering how the price dropped, everything, and what's Bitcoin. But now, when this event yesterday was quite significant with this projection, and there was no mention in a corporate media. So it's really, how it works. So I was really disappointed that how it works, that people don't get to learn from normal media about these things. So
Well, they'd be giving the Bitcoiners free advertising, right? If they talked about this. If you could just project something cool on a wall and then the media would pay attention to it, they'd have a much bigger problem.
yeah, definitely. And I was also going to say that you were talking to the first guy. I think that we have to be very patient with the adoption and people being able to use Bitcoin. And I see it also here in Switzerland. For example, there's for 3 years now you can buy Bitcoin on every train station where is a ticket machine, and it's around maybe or 1,000 ticket machines in the whole Switzerland where you can buy Bitcoin, and people really don't know about it. They don't really use it. Only Bitcoiners basically in Switzerland know it, and it's really needs time and patience until people discover these things. So
I think that's it. Yeah, even if you give them access to it in a train station, they still won't use it. They just need more time, and they just need to get into it. So.
and then the last thing is that I run my own business in Switzerland. It's a cleaning business, but I put on my bill every month. I issue a bill. I put that we accept cryptocurrencies, and funnily enough, few people already reached out and paid in Litecoin, couple in Bitcoin. So I'm really raising attention between the community I serve to know about Bitcoin, and I was very happy when people paid me. So
Well,
really
that's
cool.
fantastic, and I think the way to go is also maybe to offer a small Bitcoin a discount. If they'll pay in crypto, give them 5% off or something, try to sweeten the deal. But I think that's a great way that individual business owners can spread the word about Bitcoin. It doesn't cost you that much to put on the thing that you'll take Bitcoin or some cryptos. And if you can get a hit, or if you could get a small news story about it, tell people that you exist and that you're there, I think it could really benefit a lot of small businesses.
Yeah, definitely. So, but it makes me really happy that I managed to convince somebody to do it. But with accounting wise, it's shady still, difficult. But honestly, I don't care. I don't ask for permission. I will ask for forgiveness later on. So,
There you go.
so yeah.
It's definitely the way to go. Well, thanks so much, Martin, for your call, and give us a call anytime.
Yeah. Have a good day. Thanks for all your work. Really, very, very good content, and I love to listen to every episode. So, yeah, thank you, and danke schön, and have a nice day, and hopefully to see you in Prague for the.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be there in a couple of months of talking to the organizers, trying to get that sorted out.
Cheers, and have a good day. Yeah, bye.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye. And thanks to everybody who called today. We had a lot of callers, really spreading it around the world there, talking about the various issues. And then I wanted to go through the support addresses again, just in case you'd like to support this show. We had a cool question over on the Mad Bitcoins Patreon questions page, which isn't really taking off as I'd hoped. People just prefer to ask live questions in the chat, and that's fine too. He suggests that we could do a Bitcoin book, a collection of funny Bitcoin stories in the first person from community members. It sounds like a good idea. It's such a good idea. I don't want to talk about it too much because people will steal it from me. But yeah, that would be fun to do a story of Bitcoin stories from Bitcoin people. Even, I know they're going to steal this, but even just, your first time with Bitcoin, maybe a little first person story. I could interview them, and then we could write down what they say in the interview and turn that into a book. That sounds pretty cool. But I think there's a lot more opportunities in Bitcoin literature and other things that we haven't done yet. Not that there's like a lot of money there, but I think the good of the book exists on its own. So if there was such a book with stories in it, we would be better off that book of stories existed, rather than better off by making $1 million or whatever. I don't think it's that kind of book, but it would be cool. And we want to celebrate our donations. We had a Bitcoin donation on July the 14th of 0.0011 Bitcoin. We've had no Ethereum donations. Had, what is this one? Ethereum Classic, I guess. Oh yeah, no Ethereum Classic. We had one Dash donation, 0.438267 Dash. Thank you. We had two Dogecoin donations. We're up to 423 Dogecoins. And a little bit of a Litecoin donation, 0.188888888. Maybe some more eights. No Vertcoin donations. And as always, you can support us with a Bitcoin address or any of the other addresses on your screen, or subscribe with your credit card at the Mad Bitcoins Patreon page or the World Crypto Network Patreon page. And both of these pages have a community section where you can post stories about spreading the word about Bitcoin, or even a poem about Bitcoin. And we might discuss it on the show. Even the World Crypto Network has a community page. No one's posted there, but it is available to you. So thanks so much for watching. We went on for at least 2 hours. It feels like maybe 2.5. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my Saturday, try to do something different, even if different is probably playing Watch Dogs or maybe going swimming. It's going to be crazy hot here. I don't know, but I hope you guys have a good Saturday, and I had a good time hanging out with you. And until next time, bye bye.